Welcome back to the Running Wine Mom podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Cieslinski, aka the Running Wine Mom. I'm thrilled to kick off the first recording of 2024 with an incredible guest who embodies strength, resilience, and success in both motherhood and the world of real estate. Today, we have the pleasure of chatting with Becky, a remarkable woman who faced the unexpected challenge of her child being born at 29 weeks gestation. But that's not where her story ends. Becky is also a flourishing real estate agent in the Bucks County area and the creator of the course Real Estate Mastery 101. Join us today as we dive into the highs, lows, and the valuable lessons learned from both her personal and professional journey. Becky, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sam.
I am so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so weird sort of looking into the camera, but also a natural conversation is to look at each other. But yes, so Becky and I were very lucky to meet each other in the past year and a half. And I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah, I am too.
So to start off our episode, we have our wine, and win of the week. This is where we share a favorite bottle of wine, and we wine about something that's happening and share our wins. So let's start off. What's your wine, W-I-N-E, of the week?
So I was telling you a little earlier, typically I love drinking red blends in the wintertime because it's cold and it's winter and it's gross. And red blends are my favorite. And right now I am loving The Prisoner. It's Swift. It's a little bit of a splurge, but I'm trying not to drink as much because we're getting married. I'm getting married this year, so I'm trying to lose the baby weight that's still on after a year and a half.
No,
and
you look great.
Thank you. But right now we're doing dry January. So we are not actually drinking. I wish I was, but if I wasn't doing dry January and trying to lose weight, I would be drinking Prisoner.
Yeah, it's so funny because when I had you and then I have Brittany tomorrow as my interviews, and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to be able to, I wonder if they're doing dry January too, but both of you guys are. So we're all on the same page, which is nice. So I'm like, and we could just drink our water and our
Diet Coke.
Yeah. So what is your WHINE of the week?
So Chase, my son, goes to daycare / preschool twice a week. And my wine of the week is he is always sick. And I'm sure everyone can relate out there. I feel like daycares are just a breeding ground for every type of germ and illness they possibly can get. And he's good for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then he's super sick. And he's gotten everything under the sun. Christmas Eve, he had a double ear infection. So that's my wine of the week is daycares and kids.
I know, it's like in the thick of it, I feel. And our kids don't even go to daycare, and they were both sick over December, like just with random stuff. And it was just, I'm like, I don't know how you survive like working with not having family as help, because that's what we have is like, the family has helped to back it up. And I know so many people just like feel like you have to just stop work or, whatever, but sorry, little cheese.
I know.
Feels better.
I know.
So what is your win of the week?
My win of the week. We're only it's January 3rd.
Yes.
So we're only 3 days into the year, but I really struggled with mastering my morning routine. And one of my intentions for 2024 is mastering my morning routine. And I'm on day 3 and my morning routine is so far so good. And that is my win. Like even having 3 days of consistency has been incredible.
That's awesome. And that's off to like such a great start. That's what I feel like any kind of goal. It's 21 days to create a habit. So if you get 21 days in, then it's just going to be natural.
Yeah.
And so I always like to ask my guests, what is one thing that you've overcome leading to where you are now? And what is one thing that you are most proud of in life?
So one thing that I've overcome leading to where I am now in life is the fact, I grew up really poor locally in the area, but I was blessed to grow up in Central Bucks County and go to Central Bucks schools. It was an incredible school district, but unfortunately my parents didn't even really live paycheck to paycheck, couldn't even make it. And we were on welfare and had government assistance on the schools when I was in elementary school. They had the little trees in the lobby and it had the angel tags and it said girl age 7 loves horses, and like the wealthy families would buy us our presents. And overcoming overcoming that to get to where I am today and doing it all on my own with no help from anyone, and no wealthy person that was like, let me give you this money to help you start your business or XYZ. And creating everything I did on my own is I think about that every day. And it's,
oh my gosh, that really is, because you are really, I always say I'm so lucky to be surrounded by women who are just like go-getters. And I feel that you are just the, envisionment of what one is. You're just such a hard worker, and you do so many amazing things. You're go, go, go. And, you would never guess that you came from anything different than what you're doing right now,
Thank you.
Yeah, like, you're very like, you're someone to look up to, your work ethic and everything, which is why I like to surround myself with people like,
and likewise
someone like you. So the Running Wine Mom, we start with some fitness. How do you stay active?
Well, one thing I have incorporated into my life in 2023, and I was introduced to it from someone at my brokerage, is the Aura ring, which I have on my index finger right here.
I want to know about that.
Oh my gosh, it is life-changing. If any of you listeners on the show have the Aura ring, please let us know, because it is incredible. It has an app. It tracks your sleep, how long you're in REM sleep, light sleep, deep sleep. If you woke up at all during the night, the total amount of sleep that you got. Wow. Then based on that and your heart rate and your breathing and oxygen saturation, it gives you a readiness score. So when you wake up in the morning, you can look at your readiness score, and it tells you if you should take on the day head on and start a new project, or it'll say, hey, take a step back and relax a little bit because you're not at your optimum capacity. And it tracks your steps and all the other things that your your iWatch or your Apple Watch would do.
I don't have mine on.
I don't either, because this thing has been amazing. And the cool thing is it's super lightweight.
Yeah,
like you wouldn't think
oh my gosh, that
right?
is so lightweight. I thought it was way heavier.
Same. And it when I shower, I put it on the charging thing, and it recharges in a few minutes, and that's really been a game changer for me.
And how long does it last, like with the battery or whatever?
Like 6 or 7 days.
Wow. I need to look into that.
You should. Yeah. You would love this.
Yeah.
And we go on vacation a lot to Disney, and it's cool because it tracks the steps in Disney, and I don't even bring the charger with me because we really don't ever go more than 5 days.
Right.
And it stays charged the whole time.
Wow. I'm definitely going to be looking into that, because I love like the logistics of the step in, but then you're like for example, today I want to wear something that doesn't make me look like I have the go-go gadget watch, but I'm definitely going to look into that.
Yes. And I also find with the Apple Watch too is because it has the text message and email capabilities, if you're in a conversation with someone and it goes off, it's just human nature to look at it. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm being rude. This thing, it does all of the stuff that does, and then some.
And it's so funny that was another, besides us going to dinner afterwards. That was one of the reasons that I switched, because I do notice when I do interviews, even though my phone may be on silent or it's not near me, it's like that, and it's such an automatic, like, and you're like, I'm just being rude.
Right. Like, I want to be present in the conversation.
So how do you stay motivated to maintain your fitness routine?
Well, I don't have much routine right now. Okay. I'm not going to lie. But my intention in the new year is to take Pilates classes at our gym.
Oh my gosh. It's
the
so
reformer
amazing.
Pilates. Yes. I've done a few already, and they're incredible because I really just need to tone and tighten. And I have about 10 or 15 pounds left that I need to lose from a year and a half ago.
That's okay.
But just, I think getting back into it is the real motivation behind it, is to be and set a great example for my son. And when he has the wherewithal to see that we have a gym routine and fitness is important to us, and so that can be instilled in him at an early age.
And it definitely will. And even every time I take Willow and Parker to Kids Club, when we leave, Willow always asks, Mama, what workout did you do today? Where did you work out today? I did this. Even though she's not necessarily working out, she's going to like art class or something like that, but she's very invested in what my fitness is. So that's something, that's so great for it's, even you are getting married this year. So obviously I know there's different fitness motivation, but once I feel like get into it, it's just like, it doesn't matter about losing weight or toning up or anything like that. It is just about your best version.
100%.
Okay. So what struggles do you have to stay healthy and fit?
there's not enough time in the day.
There's really not. And you are busy.
There's not enough time. And also I'm always on the go. I live out of my car because I'm always going to and from showings, to and from clients' houses that want to sell their house, and doing property tours and doing open houses and all the things that are encompassed around the real estate lifestyle. And being very mindful to plan my snacks and my meals so I bring them with me and I'm not tempted to stop and get junk food.
That's a good, I was going to say, what do you pack? What are some of your to go? I'm sure that would be a great tip for a lot of people who are on the road.
Yes.
What are your favorite things?
So I love beef jerky. I'm really big on getting your protein in. I think that's key to keeping your hunger at bay and also building muscle. So beef jerky, I love the Crave brand. They also have really great turkey jerky sticks from Costco. I also love the That's It bars, the fruit bars.
Yes, I've never seen them until I think yesterday. Someone asked if they were good for like their 3-year-old or something, and I was like, I've never seen these.
Yes, they're amazing, and you can buy them in bulk at Costco, and they also have them at Target too. They're hard to find in regular grocery stores. They're 2 ingredients, like apples and bananas, or bananas and blueberries, and it's delicious, especially if you have a sweet craving. And then I just recently went gluten-free in June, so that's also been a struggle too, finding foods that are gluten-free. So typically, if I want something salty or whatever, I'll do some sort of corn chip that has, no gluten. But really I just keep it simple. It's beef jerky and then a fruit thing. And that's and then nuts. I also love nuts. Yeah. Cashews, almonds.
And that's simplicity. I think sometimes people overthink what they have to do and the big meal prepping. And that was something since September going back to work that I really have focused on too. It's like, I just need like a couple ingredients and something meal prep for the week. And that's it. Protein, veggie, carb, and you're good. So that's very helpful. All right, so let's move on to parenthood. We'll go into kind of a general parenthood and then some more specifics into your situation that, you experienced. So first of all, what were you least prepared for in parenthood?
So initially, I will say everything, because I think your traditional pregnancy and preparing for parenthood, that when you get pregnant, you have until 38 weeks or so in your mind mentally to prepare for baby and to take birthing classes and read the books and all getting your nursery ready and figuring out what gadgets and equipment and do all your research and figure out what's best and feel fully prepared when the baby arrives. And because I randomly out of the blue went into labor at 29 weeks, I didn't even get to do any of that.
I'm sure. I feel like when I found out that you had given birth that early in your pregnancy, I was like, I don't think I had my shower till 29 weeks. And did you have a shower?
I did after he was born.
Well, after before, that's what I meant. Like, so before you're like,
no, it was scheduled for, I was going to be 33 weeks.
Right.
Which I guess is normal.
Yeah, normal. Yeah.
So he was already born in the NICU, and I took one day off from not seeing him to enjoy my shower.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and the nurses knew that it was my shower day, and so they were sending me pictures of him, and it was a whole thing. But and Brittany was supposed to do our maternity photos on the beach.
Oh, no.
I never got to get any photos of me pregnant, and that's
and I feel like when I ask that question to people, what are you least prepared for? They're like, it's so different than anything that you're saying, because you're literally actually not prepared because you didn't get a chance because you're just all of a sudden.
The nursery was actually a kitty foster room. We were fostering cats for adoption.
Right.
And they destroyed the whole room. And the day I went into labor, we were supposed to drop them off to the rescue because the new owner was picking them up.
Oh my God.
And I just remember going into the hospital and telling Bill, hey, can you text the owner of the rescue for me and tell her we're probably going to be late because I have to get checked out here?
Oh my God. Just kidding. We're having a baby.
So literally the foster cats were still in there for a while until we were able to clean it.
I'm sure you've grown leaps and bounds.
Yes.
You have. What do you think your parenting style is? So
I had no idea what type of parent I was going to be until you're thrown into it. I think it's funny because before you have kids and I will be honest, I was very judgy before I was
I think
a mom.
everybody is.
I cannot believe they're letting their kid watch their iPhone while they're at a nice dinner. Now I'm like, put Miss Rachel on.
Miss Rachel.
So I can enjoy my cocktail and have appetizers while Chase hangs out in the high chair. And, TV shows and toys and all the things. And now, when I was thrown into it, I've adapted to be a very laid back mom. Yeah. I'm very laid back. I really just go with the flow. I don't get overly stressed out about things. I just I'm just laid back and easygoing. And the only thing I try to be in control of is what he eats. And I try to make sure it's organic. It's just a thing with me. And if I can control what he eats, it makes me feel better about it.
And there's so much stuff that we really can't control. And so if that's something that you can, then that's so awesome. We're not very organic with the kid. We're like, what would you like today?
Yeah, right. Just as long as they're eating it.
Yeah. Like, let's just eat. But no, and that's the joy. That's something that I do love about talking to other parents is like, what is your thing that that yours is the organic. Someone else's might be their schedule. Someone else's might be going outside. It's just interesting how every parent kind of just adapts to what their family wants most. And that's, I think, something where my judgment maybe before I became a mom was where you just don't understand what works best for that family and what works for you guys doesn't work for us, doesn't work for someone else. And that's something I feel like you have to just wait till you have kids to learn.
You really do. I remember my sister-in-law wouldn't go to family events if they started after 6 o'clock because she's like, the baby goes down at this time. And I'm like, 6 o'clock is so early. And now I'm like, can we please start something at 3 or 4? Because I want to be home by 6:45 so we can get into the bath and be sleeping by 7:30.
Well, it had to be recently that Mark and we must not have had the kids, and maybe they were staying over at one of our family members' houses, and it was like we were going out at 7, and I was like, this feels so bizarre because normally this is like the crazy hour where you're like everyone's bathing and showering and brushing their teeth and crying and whatever, and I'm like, we're just go out. Okay.
You're like, what is this life? I don't even remember.
I know, you forget. What is one piece of advice that you would give to other parents?
This is a good one. So the best piece of advice I can give is to not compare your child to other children in your mom group, in your circle. And it's because it is true. Comparison is the thief of joy. And I got wrapped up into that because, for example, so Chase's birthday party, so Sam and a bunch of other friends came to his first birthday party, which was in July, and we all had kids around the same age.
Literally weeks apart.
Yes. So Sam's son, Parker, and then our other girlfriend, Kate, her son, Desi, and Chase were all born a couple weeks apart from each other. And when Chase turned 1, he just started to crawl, and Desi and Parker were running around.
Right.
And so it was hard to not be like, is there something wrong with my baby? Is he delayed? Why isn't he hitting these milestones? All of his, but then I had just to keep reminding myself, he's also 11 weeks behind.
Right.
Too.
Right.
And but still, even though I knew he was 11 weeks behind, you don't want your baby to be behind.
Right.
It was really hard for me to not do that. And I think once he finally started walking, which was at 15 months,
which really is right around,
12 months corrected. So the corrected age would be 12. He's essentially 3 months behind. So his corrected age at that point would be 12 months. And that's typically when they start walking as a year. So right when he first started, I'm like, I'm going to stop comparing.
Right.
Because then you're like, when are they going to start speaking their first words? Grouping sentences together, running, all of those things. And that's the best advice I can give.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because obviously Chase is your first, so you don't have another child to even compare with those kind of, but your experience with, not like the children. But with Willow, I was the same way. It was like, well, why are these other kids doing this, and why? And then with Parker, I'm just like, you'll do it at some point, you just have to go through it with. All right. So I'd like to dive into the nuances of parenthood, particularly your experience as a mother with a son born premature, as we just talked about. I'd love for you to take us back to the moment you discovered you would be going into labor at 29 weeks. The emotions must have been overwhelming. Can you share with us what went through your mind and how you coped with the unexpected early arrival?
Yeah, so my whole pregnancy was perfect. No problems at all. All of my ultrasounds, everything, blood work was totally perfect. And it wasn't even ever on my radar that I could have a premature baby. It just, I'm healthy. Everything else looked perfect. My husband, or soon to be husband, is healthy. There was no record of prematurity in either of our families. So it wasn't even on my radar.
Right.
And I had my 28-week ultrasound, and that was the first time that they said something looked a little off.
Okay.
And they said, it seems like the baby is growing a little small. They weren't so concerned, but they said, we're just going to bring you in every single week from here on out to do I think they called it a Doppler scan, and just to monitor him and make sure everything's fine. So that made me a little nervous, but I was like, I think, it's fine. And then 6 days later, it was a Saturday night, I got up every hour to pee, and which was not normal. I would, as when you're pregnant, you get a lot more frequently, but not every hour on the hour. And the crazy thing is that I have this sensation I had to pee. I would get up, go to pee, and nothing would come out, like almost like a UTI.
Yeah.
So I kept doing that, and then like the fourth time, I'm like, I already know I was getting no sleep. I already know I'm not going to be able to pee, so I'm just going to lay here and wait for the feeling to go away. And then I like peed my pants in bed. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here? So then I got up out of bed and I wiped, and I noticed I was spotting. So I'm like, this just doesn't seem right. So at this point, it's like 7:00 in the morning, and Bill's like, you should just call the doctor. So I call my OB, and she's like, all right, well, it seems like maybe you might have a kidney stone or maybe a bladder infection or something along those lines. So why don't you head on into triage? I'm going to give them a heads up that you're coming, and we're going to write you an antibiotic, and then you'll be on your way. So I get in the shower. I do the dishes. I let the dogs out. I get dressed. I just put on, like, it was the middle of July, so it was super hot. I just put on a t-shirt and workout leggings with some sandals. I grabbed my water bottle and my wristlet and my phone. I didn't dry my hair. I didn't put makeup on, nothing. And we go to the hospital. So between the time I called and the time we arrived, it was like 2 hours.
Okay.
And it's about 10:15 in the morning. And of course, we go into the triage entrance, and Bill forgets his wallet in the car because they need his license. So I'm waiting there. He can't find his wallet. Like 15 minutes go by. He finally rolls in. I know. I'm like, this is just, great. And they register us. We go up. We're waiting to see a nurse or whoever. And at that point is the first time, which I didn't know at the time.
Right.
I started experiencing contractions. And I didn't know they were contractions because I never took a birthing class. I had no idea what labor was supposed to feel like or be like. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, these sharp pains are probably my bladder infection that they're telling me I probably have, or a kidney stone, right? So I continue on. They see me. I give a urine sample. They draw blood. They put a belly band on the baby. They look at his heart rate, everything with me. They're like, everything looks fine. We are not concerned about anything. And they're just like, we're just going to do an exam. And they did. You're 1 centimeter dilated. And I'm like, oh, like, don't worry. It's normal. You just entered your 3rd trimester. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a shot of, I think they gave me some sort of steroid and magnesium, I think. And to I guess they didn't tell me this at the time, but in the event that I delivered it, I guess the steroid helps the baby's lungs or what have you. So while this is all going on, the contractions start getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know that they're contractions. So I'm telling Bill, like, God, this pain is just getting worse. And it's more frequent. Like before it was like once every 10 or 15 minutes. And then it became every 5 minutes. And then I remember looking at the clock and I'm like, I only have like 2 minutes while I'm not in pain. And then it comes back 2 minutes later. And
you're like, in retrospect, you're like,
known, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know.
But you didn't know.
Yeah.
Why would you know?
Exactly. So by the time we get into the room in triage, it's maybe like 10:45. And by noon, I am in so much pain that I am asking the people, I need some sort of pain medication. This pain, because they sent my blood work down for the labs and they're waiting on the results. So they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. They don't know what medicine to give me. I actually don't know if they knew I was in labor. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but no one told me. So I'm still thinking I have like this horror. I'm thinking the worst. I'm like, what if I have to get my appendix taken out or like some insane gallbladder, some insane surgery? I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going to have to get operated on, not even thinking I'm going to actually give birth like in the next half hour. So they go, do you want an epidural? And I'm like, why would I get an epidural? You only get an epidural if you are giving birth. And I'm not giving birth today. Like I'm only 29 weeks pregnant. So then fast forward like a half hour later and they bring in a priest. They bring in like 3 or 4 neonatologists, all these doctors. There were 1 million people in my room. I think that's when they realized I was probably going to give birth. Right. And they still didn't tell me. They were asking me my religion, crazy stuff. Like, and I can't even answer them because I'm in so much pain because I'm unmedicated and I can't concentrate. I have to actually close my eyes and hold on to the side of the bed because I was just like, my vision was going, like it was wild. And Bill, I've never seen him stressed out. He was so stressed. He's like, there's something wrong with her. I know there's something wrong with her. He started asking for help from anyone he could get to come into the room. It was crazy. So at 12:40, my water breaks. And I go, I think something just happened. I need someone to help. Like no one was in the room. So Bill goes in the hallway screaming, someone needs to come check her. So they come in, they're like, your water just broke and you're 10 centimeters dilated and we need to rush you into labor and delivery right now. You're going to have the baby. And I think I almost had a panic attack. I'm like, there's no way I'm having my baby right now. And as you guys know, everyone that's listening, that's had a baby. No one told me that when you are ready to actually deliver, it feels like you have to take the biggest poop of your entire life. And I had no clue because that was the sensation that I felt. And the only way to relieve it is to push. Yeah. No, because again, I didn't get to read baby books or ask my friends. Like I had plenty of time for this. And they put me on the bed. They're wheeling me from triage into labor and delivery. I almost gave birth on the bed in the hallway on my way there. The woman is telling me, whispering in my ear as all these people are on either. It was like a Grey's Anatomy episode.
That's what I'm like envisioning. Just chaos.
Yeah, it was chaos. Like they were on either side of the gurney. Bill's like in the back, like they forgot about him. The woman's like, pretend you're blowing out a candle. I'm like, okay. Like, what? Yeah. Yeah. Like, because they didn't want me to push. Right. They lift me up, put me on the bed. The labor and delivery doctor comes in. There's 20 people in the room. I remember before when I got pregnant, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, I don't want people in the room. This is so embarrassing. I'm like, within 30 seconds of arriving to labor and delivery, the doctor's like, okay, you can finally push. And I pushed and he was born.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. That is so crazy.
And that was my and he was born at 12:49. So I got to the hospital in the triage room at 10:45. So within 2 hours, I went from feeling like I had to pee and then to giving birth with no medication. And it was wild. And then no one told me about the afterbirth.
Right. That is something someone did tell me about that, thankfully, because I was like, I need to tell everybody about this. When you deliver again, like basically.
And that actually, I think, was more painful than actually delivering the baby because I did it unmedicated. And the like, I guess, resident physician was, shoved her whole arm up my vagina to my elbow, to her elbow, trying to pull everything. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I had no clue what they were even doing.
You're like, is there another baby in there?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, literally, because So yes.
Having him that young, that early, what were the next steps that happened? Like, then what happened? Did you get to hold him right away?
Yeah. So that was also very traumatic. I remember as soon as he came out, he was crying so loud. So when I heard his little cry, I was like, okay, thank God that he's alive. Because I didn't even know.
Lungs, like,
I didn't even know that babies could survive at 29 weeks after becoming a NICU mom. I learned they could actually survive as early as 23 weeks and 1 pound. So 29 weeks actually isn't too early. It's still very early, but in retrospect, in comparison to all that. But no, I didn't get to hold him or actually see him for hours. Wow. So he was born and I was, laying in bed, and they immediately took him and brought him over to the side, like 20 feet away from me, and they put him in a plastic bag, I guess to keep his body temperature up, and then administered surfactant into his lungs. And then immediately put him did the weights and, the measurements, all that, and then put him right into the incubator and rolled him down to the NICU. I literally I have a vague memory of just looking over, and he was like probably where your stairs are, and just seeing him be wheeled away. I didn't even get to see what he looked like. I didn't get to touch him. Nothing.
And did you know you were having a boy? So,
I did know I was having a boy. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel very robbed of that experience because, when you envision having a baby and becoming a mom, you think about the matching robe that you're going to put, you're going to wear and you're going to dress your baby as, and the video you're going to take, and the photos of you, and like taking a video of like, oh, I'm going into delivery now, and the memories that you create, and being able to hold your baby and look at him and smell him for the first time and snuggle with him. And I was totally robbed of all of that. And so I don't ever talk about it, but it still affects me to this day.
Of course. Yeah. That's such a you didn't even have any idea you were going in that day. It's just like I can't imagine how, because Willow was a C-section, and I remember the weirdest thing was when I was like laying there with my arms up like this, and they took her over, and Mark got to go over, and I was literally just like looking at a sheet, and nobody was near me, and I'm like, where is everyone? So I can't imagine how, like, multiplying that by so much by just having the baby roll away so quickly, and not even after probably like 5 minutes having the baby come over. And it's just,
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's, so did they say why you went in that early, or was just a sporadic?
No, I still do not have any answers. I actually wish I did have an answer.
Right.
So I could know, because we do want to have another baby.
Right.
And sooner rather than later, because I'm 38 and I don't want to be giving birth, into my 40s. If I do, great. And that's wonderful that moms are able to do that, but I'd like to have them closer together. And they sent my placenta away for testing. Wow. They drew blood again. They looked at everything and they have no answers. And the only thing they could tell me is sometimes this just happens and only God knows why. I'm like, that with all the modern medicine they have today, they couldn't give me any reason why.
Like, it could have even been something silly as like you stepped the wrong way. Not that that's like, but just, nothing.
Yeah, literally nothing.
So going through the NICU experience, it can be obviously incredibly tough, as you just explained, just, from the beginning. Could you describe some of the challenges you faced during those days and how you navigated them?
Yeah, so this was a really tough time in my life because he was in the NICU for 60 days.
Wow.
He was released on day 60. And the toughest part in the beginning was after I was right in labor and delivery, and they ordered me pizza. They gave me a menu. Like my baby's rolled down to the NICU, and then a nurse comes in. Here's the menu. It's lunchtime. And I literally was like, they're acting like everything's fine. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what my kid looks like. I haven't been able to touch him or look at him or see him. And I just gave birth. I'm in the worst pain ever. And you want me to order food and pick what I want from the menu? It was bizarre. I think they probably wanted to try to distract me and get me thinking about normal things. So after I ate, they wheeled me up to the maternity ward. And that was probably the hardest thing because there I am, wheeled up there by myself with no baby. And you see all the other moms with their babies, you hear the babies crying.
Because you have to recover in the maternity. Yeah. I mean, I know that, but it's just like, as you're saying it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's,
you don't think about it. And I think they purposely put me at the very end of the row so I didn't have to walk past all the other moms, but I can still hear the babies and still, and when they were discharged, I could see them walk out with their babies, and that was really hard. And so that was tough. I didn't even get to see him until they finally called me 4 hours later. Okay. They called me and said I was allowed down into the NICU to see him for the first time.
Right. Wow.
And that was very scary too, because I was like, what am I walking into? And no one can prepare you for walking into the NICU and seeing your baby, this fragile little life that's only 2 pounds, 7 ounces, attached to every single probe and breathing apparatus and just in the incubator and the alarms going off, and you're in shock as it is. And I actually thought for like the first 24 hours I was dreaming. I'm like, there's no way this just happened to me. I'm in a dream. I'm in a very vivid dream. And so going in there and seeing him for the first time 4 hours after I gave birth, I wasn't even allowed to hold him then. I just got to hold him later that evening around 9:30. And Bill didn't even get, because they only wanted him to be held very briefly by me and then back into the incubator to keep his body temperature up. Okay. You don't want him to be out too long in the very early stages. So Bill didn't even get to hold him until like day 4 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was really tough. And then going through everything during the course of him being in the NICU, we were, in hindsight, very blessed that he had very minimal preemie issues, which were all normal. I mean, to the average person, it's very scary, but all the NICU nurses and neonatologists said this is very common for preemie. So the biggest thing that he had was a very large PDA, which stands for, by the way, I didn't know any of this stuff at all.
I'm learning so much until
until I experienced this. So it's called a patent ductus arteriosus, and every person is born with this extra ventricle coming out of their heart that actually serves as how they are able to breathe in the womb, and it's connected to the mother. And then once they're,
I never knew that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And once they're born, it automatically closes up within 24 to 48 hours because the body knows that, yes, I'm at full gestation. I'm now outside of the womb and I don't need this extra ventricle anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, with premature babies, the body doesn't know that it's been delivered and outside of the womb. So it stays open. So what happens is if it doesn't close is the heart is actually overloaded with blood because there's so much blood flow and this ventricle is open. And then the blood actually goes into the lungs and causes lung failure.
Okay.
And they die from it. So when they found out with the echocardiograms that they do routinely that he had this very large PDA, they said, well, the course of action is we start initially with giving them liquid Tylenol, which I didn't know was a way to close it, but apparently it's a side effect of Tylenol. It assists in closing the PDAs. Then they said if that doesn't work, they have to give him a very strong medicine called Indocin, I believe it was called, and it has to be given intravenously. So when that occurs, they would have to put an IV back in and then drastically reduce the food that he was taking because it causes vomiting and you can't have that. So we were, every day, if he gained an ounce, we would celebrate that milestone. And I didn't want to take the food away. And I was praying he didn't need the Indocin. And then they said, if that doesn't work, then you'd have to have surgery. Oh. And so that was just so stressful every day, praying when we would go home. that his PDA would close with the Tylenol and just wait for the next echo to be done. And that it was really tough. And then he did struggle with keeping his body temperature up. So coming out of the incubator and being into open air, all these little steps towards making it home. He struggled with that for a while. And then he actually at the end did not want to come off oxygen. So every time they would try to take him off oxygen, because that's the last step before you were discharged, he would, his oxygen saturation would dip and he wouldn't sustain it. So they had to put him back on. And then you weren't allowed to try to take him back off of it until he didn't have any episodes, they're called, where the heart rate drops below or above a certain number. So it was like the science of all these things and milestones that had to be met. And it was just very, no one can describe it or prepare you for it. I think if someone told me I was going to have a NICU baby and I had 29 weeks to prepare, I still wouldn't be prepared.
Right.
I almost think it was better that I was thrown into it.
Yeah, I was not that I would ever say like, oh yeah, it's probably better that you just got rather than knowing. But I mean, I think that's how I guess my perspective would have been like, don't even tell me, just let me like figure it out, because the what ifs probably would have just all of the things, the rabbit holes that you can kind of go down are probably way more than in the moment of like, this is what it is and this is what you're dealing with at the moment. So when did his PDA close?
So I swear to God, it was a miracle by God, because the doctors told me he had a very large PDA, and they said, I just want to mentally prepare you that it is very unlikely this is going to close with Tylenol, and it'll be really hard for it to even close with the medicine because of how large it is. And they gave him the Tylenol and it only shrunk by a little tiny bit. And the one neonatologist really advocated, because he had a team of probably 5 or 6 different neonatologists that rotated because they're there around the clock and obviously they need time off. So the one was a huge advocate for the Tylenol. I guess he did his PhD doctorate paper on it and was a believer in it. And he's like, you know what? I just want to try one more round of Tylenol before we go to the Indocin. And grace be to God, it closed with the second round of Tylenol. It was like, I got the chills when they told me because of how low the percentage was of the success rate for the Tylenol. So I think he was about 4 weeks old when it finally closed. So he was 33 weeks gestation.
Wow, that's amazing. That's very lucky that, again, having just that doctor that just random, it's not random, obviously, but just having the advocation for it is so important.
It was really great.
So many parents find it challenging to balance hope and fear, as you kind of just talked about with the premature birth. How did you, after everything, I mean, you're just talking about right now, I'm having like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine going through it. How did you maintain that hope of he's going to get out of here?
So every night the visiting hours in the NICU is from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day. So during that time frame, the parents were not allowed to be there. So you could stay in the hospital and go down to the cafeteria or whatever, but you had to leave the NICU. And then, so what we would do is we would arrive at the NICU around 9:30 in the morning, and we would stay until about 3 or 4 o'clock. And we would go home and we would feed the dogs. We would get dinner ourselves, whatever we needed to do for a few hours. And then we would be there right at 8 o'clock when they opened, and we would stay from 8 until about 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And when I would come home at 2 in the morning, it was tough because, you don't want to leave without your baby.
Yeah.
And you had
doing it every night. Yeah.
Every night. That's what we had to do. So I would go home and I would journal. And it's so funny when I was thinking about, my responses to these questions last night, I was so tempted to look back and read my journal because I have not read it since he came home. And I would every day journal about how I was feeling. I would just write positive affirmations about how I just knew in my heart he was going to be fine and he was going to come home and be perfect. And I would manifest it and just think about it all the time. And I would write just how much I loved him. And so that was a good release for me. It was the journaling. And then the other thing they had was they have this amazing nonprofit organization called Today is a Good Day. And it's been around, I think, for about 14 years. And it was started by a couple who had a set of twins that were born, I think, at 23 weeks.
Wow.
And the one twin, unfortunately, didn't survive. They were about a pound. One was a pound, the other was 14 ounces. And the one twin did survive, but would work for NICU parents and families. And she started this community. And they were so instrumental in helping us cope with the being thrown into NICU parent life. They would have they would have speakers and volunteers that were parents like us that now their kids are 4, 5, 6 years old or older, and they're perfect and flourishing, and you would never know they were born premature. And so they would come in and they would provide you dinner in the NICU during that period that they were closed from 6 to 8. So we would all go to a conference room, and they would bring photos of their kids when they were in the NICU and then photos of them now. And they would speak about the different issues their kids went through and how they coped. And they said, look, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Look at how perfect they are. So that was really great to have that support system and have someone that actually just went through it or recently went through it and can say, yes, like everything will be fine. And so that was great. And I also just celebrated all the little milestones, like the 1 ounce he would gain, the when he drank his first bottle, because he was tube fed for the first 4 weeks of his life. Because I didn't know that babies don't learn the suck, swallow, breathe motion until they're about 34 weeks old in the womb. So when he was born, he was fed through a tube. Yeah. I couldn't even breastfeed, even if I wanted to. I never ended up doing it because my milk supply never came in, unfortunately, even though I wanted to. So he was always bottle fed or tube fed. And the first day that he 10 mLs, like the smallest
That's
ml.
Okay.
But we would celebrate that and just get so excited. And things that you take for granted when you have a full-term baby that has no problems at all. And then just prayed and a lot and cried.
Yeah, I'm sure just a lot of emotions. And having that's so nice about that. I didn't know that there was that community because you can't, again, be like, if you have a sibling who had a full-term baby and come in, oh yeah, this is what your postpartums are worlds apart, and they don't understand, and they can like I'm sitting here, I can say, oh my gosh, I feel terrible that happened, but you don't know unless you went through it. So that's good that they have that. Yeah. That's amazing. So as a mother, how did you build your support system for yourself and your family during the early days of Chase's life, whether that was in the hospital or once you got home? Were there any specific people that helped?
Yeah, so I didn't have your traditional postpartum journey because like normal full-term pregnancies, you have your baby and you're in the hospital for a few days and then you come home and you're recovering and you're learning how to be a mom and the new routine and all that. So I was able to go home and recover. And that was one of the, even though it was horrible in the moment, the great things about not having any pain medicine.
Yeah.
My recovery was like within 5 days, I was cleaning out my garage on the 5th day in like the few hours that we weren't at the hospital for like 4 hours. I'm like, let me clean the garage. I need to do something because I have to start getting the nursery together. So that's
the cat's out.
Yeah, get the cat's out. So, and I just remember being like, I just gave birth 5 days ago. I can't believe I'm doing this, but it's because of, the fact that I didn't get an epidural. I didn't have a C-section, because he was so small. I didn't have any tearing at all. Like it was a very, in that
easy
regard,
physically,
it was a physical,
which is deserved because
right. I'm like, at least I get that little thing, right? God threw me a little bone there. So I was able to recover from all of that. And then when he finally came home, he was 36 and a half weeks gestation. So he actually came home 3.5 weeks before his due date.
That's great.
Which everyone was like, normally we tell you don't expect to, because we were like, when do you think he'll come home? And they all say, just plan on the original due date. I'm like, that just seems so long from now. And so he ended up coming home last year, which is really cool. So when he finally came home, I was already kind of mentally prepared in my mind and mom state, because I had already been a mom for 60 days and then was able to prepare. So, but right when he was born, I had such, like, it was just so great that my neighbors and my friends, they set up a meal train for us, and they sent, because we would just literally go to Wawa and eat hot dogs and peanut M&Ms and Diet Coke. I'm not even kidding you. That's what I lived on. And because I didn't want to cook, I had no desire to cook. I didn't even want to order out, or like, it just seemed weird to me.
Just like celebrate, like food is a celebration.
Exactly.
And
so I just, on our way home at 2:30 in the morning, we would stop at this one Wawa on 611 right next to the hospital in Abington, and we would grab hot dogs and peanut M&Ms and Coke and Diet Coke, and that's what I lived on. And so it was nice that they were able to, they would send meals to the house, or we were able to every once in a while we would order or whatever. Right. So that was nice that we're able to build that, just have that support system.
Yeah, that's stuff. I didn't even think about, like, the food is something too, where it's like, what's your first, like, postpartum, but you probably don't even feel like you want to even think about that when your baby, is not. Okay. So dealing with premature birth often requires a tremendous amount of, obviously, mental toughness, which we've learned that you went through a lot of that. Can you share some moments when you felt your inner strength was tested, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so there was one really trying time in his stay in the NICU where it was very trying for me. And it was, full disclosure, I chose not to vaccinate my son. And if you vaccinate your kids, that is amazing. And if you choose not to vaccinate, that's wonderful too. But I chose not to. And unfortunately, there were some nurses, and not so much the nurses. It was more so the nurse practitioners, the resident physicians, the attending physicians, the neonatologists, that were really, they were very rude and cruel, and they would guilt me, making me feel like I was going to hurt my child and kill my child and just do irrevocable damage to him by not vaccinating. Within 24 hours, this little life, he's just over 2 pounds, and they wanted to inject him with a hepatitis B vaccine. And I'm like, where do you even get hepatitis B from? Because again, I didn't even know what the vaccine schedule looked like, because I didn't even have time to prepare for it. And so I was not aware that they get all these shots within early hours of life. And it just, something in my gut seemed like it was wrong. Like, I don't even know if he's going to survive, and you want to inject him with a virus. It just was so crazy to me. And it got me thinking about a lot moment of becoming a mom. So I chose not to vaccinate him. And this one nurse practitioner, I'll never forget, she would call me at home trying to convince me to get him vaccinated, and was saying like, oh, well, you're going to kill your baby. He could get hepatitis. And I'm like, how did they get hepatitis? Sex and use of needles. He's in an incubator. He's 2 pounds. I don't think he's going to be getting any of that anytime soon. So then she's like, well, in the event that he needs a blood transfusion, he could get it from someone else's blood, from the donor. And first I'm like, do you not test the blood that you're receiving from donors for hepatitis? Like, what kind of operation are you running? And of course she's like, starts, going back on everything. And she's like, oh, no, we test it. But like, there could be one, it's not foolproof, and there could be hepatitis. And I'm like, well, my kid does not need a blood transfusion. Like, he has like a few other issues, but the anemia and that, he's perfectly fine. His white blood cell count, his red blood cell count is perfect. Doesn't need a blood transfusion. Well, fast forward to like a week before he's supposed to be discharged, and he needs a blood transfusion. And I just got this wave of stress and anxiety coming over me, because I have this nurse practitioner in the back of my head making me think like everything which she said to me in the first like couple days after he was born. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, did I make the wrong decision? Am I going to kill my baby if he gets this blood transfusion and dies? Because I made this decision to protect him.
Right.
And I get emotional just talking about it. And I remember just praying so hard for like 24 hours, like, please God, like I know he needs this blood transfusion. I know it's going to save his life, but I just don't want to hurt him by giving it to him. And I'm like, is it the right thing to do? And I like, you know, because they needed my consent to do the blood transfusion. So finally I prayed on it. I'm like, and I'm not a very religious person. I became very spiritual through this journey. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to give it to God and let it go. And I remember, I left the NICU when they started the transfusion because I was not allowed to be there. I stayed. I went home because I'm like, I cannot be here. And I said, please call me when it's finished, and please call me to let me know everything's fine. And they called me, and they're like, we want to let you know that he's doing perfect, and you can come see him at this time. So I went in, and his coloring, it was wild. He went from like pale and like jaundice looking almost to this like, it looked like he was like Santa Claus. Aww. He had these jolly red cheeks. He was so red. It looked like he just got like injected with obviously all this blood. And all of a sudden, right after he got the blood transfusion, within like 24 hours, he was able to successfully come off oxygen.
Wow.
And we went home a couple days later. That's awesome. It's almost like that's what he needed, just like that little push to get him over the hump. And so that was probably the most trying time.
Right. Yeah. And that is so, like, I totally understand like your perspective of this little thing, and then you're like, you didn't get to do any research, and you don't know, and you want to trust yourself rather than someone else, and then to have it, I can't imagine to have it come back around. I can't imagine. Like I said, I feel anxious for you, but I'm so glad that everything was
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
So your okay. So to kind of close all of this up, obviously the journey was so tough, and you had, you know, some lows and highs. Can you share some of the highs that, you know, you experienced before you left the NICU and after?
Yes. So I think one of the things that this whole experience really taught me, which has just been such a amazing transformation in my life, is the fact that after going through this experience being a NICU mom, it put things into perspective a lot. And I don't get overly panicked anymore about things, or not that I did before, but I guess I would just make things bigger than they really were, or stress out about little things, and all the things that comes along with raising boys, as you know, like they try to kill themselves every other second. And
we're like, what the heck? Willa wasn't like this.
Yes, that's what I hear, because I just have a boy. I'm like, this is wild.
Yeah.
But it really helped me to become not overly panicked, because I know he's strong and resilient, and he can get through anything. And so I think translated into being a very laid back mom, it just kind of gave me some peace, that knowing that he can get through anything. And then also it allowed me to almost have this hard line in the sand. And as soon as he came home, I did not want to deal with drama anymore, BS, and sweating the small stuff in my life, with relationships, with and then it translated into my business life too, and with clients. And I know very firmly about my stance on things. I'm not afraid to speak up. I feel very passionate about what my life is, and it's because I became an advocate for my son, and it translated to my personal life.
Yeah, it gave you your voice.
Yeah.
Of like something that you probably didn't know. And I feel, again, I can relate to that. Like prior to having Willow, you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I don't, okay, I don't really care about that. Or yeah, I'll deal with all this, and I'll bring it home to our house, the drama and all that. And then you're like, wait, this is what matters, and this other stuff really doesn't. And I couldn't have said it better. That is literally what happened. I used to be this, like,
high, a personality assessment. I'm a very high I. I don't like conflict. I don't like drama. I like everyone to like me. I'm very extroverted. And so that sometimes was a detriment because I'd be like very like go with the flow. I didn't want to like stir the pot. I would just be like, okay, but I'm still that way, but I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid to advocate for myself, more importantly, and also for my child. I can draw a firm line in the sand, and I don't care if it pisses someone off anymore. It kind of gave me, becoming a mom, it really helped me. Even though I'm an older mom. Like I didn't have Chase until I was 36. So it really kind of reinvented me in my life.
Yeah, I love that because I totally feel everything that you're saying. I feel it's the same. And going back to like when you said earlier about like you want your fitness, so Chase, that exercise is important. It's the same thing with advocacy, and that's the way that I look at it with my kids. Where I'm like, if I just sit there and let people treat me a certain way, my kids are going to think that's the way that it's okay to let people treat you this way. Of course, you want them to be nice and, polite, but like, if there's something that doesn't fit you, you speak up. That's what you should do.
So 100%. And the other thing was we became such close friends with his nurses, some of his NICU nurses. Yeah. I still keep in touch with a lot of them because of the amazing thing that social media is. And on Facebook and Instagram, and one nurse in particular, we consider a really good friend. And she comes over to our house. We go out to dinner with her. We took her to the Phillies game with us this year. We went to her housewarming party. And it is so cool that Chase is going to be able to grow up with one of the nurses that essentially saved his life.
Right.
She was his overnight nurse. She worked overnight from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Yeah. And I could count, her name's Meg. She's amazing. And I could count on her at 3:30 in the morning when I was sleeping, that I knew when I woke up, I would have all these photos in the app that they use to show me pictures of my baby.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So much. Amazing. So obviously your journey as a mother navigating the challenges of premature birth is, truly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing all that. It's evident that your strength and resilience played a crucial role during those tough times. So we're going to shift gears a bit into another crucial role that you play and dive into your thriving career as a real estate agent and the creation of your new course, Real Estate Mastery 101. So I'm curious to know, how did the experiences you faced as a mother influence your approach to business, and what valuable lessons did you bring from that chapter of your life into the realm of real estate?
So I already touched on this a little bit about the fact that before I became a mom, I didn't really have boundaries with clients. I would let them call me any time of the day, text me any time of the day, weekends, during the week. It didn't matter, holidays. And they would email me. I would respond to every problem that came up, like it was a life or death situation. Like, oh my God, we got the home inspection report back. And it would be like 11:30 on a Saturday night because the home inspector was just trying to bang out his reports and send them out. And they would be like, can we talk? We need to, and I would get on the phone with them and I would have no boundaries. And so it put a lot of things into perspective after going through this journey, that it's real estate. You're not saving NICU babies. You're not performing life-saving heart surgery. Things can wait till the next business day.
Right.
No one's going to die. The deal is not going to die if it waits till the next business day. And I'm not saying that these things don't matter, because they do. And I just purchased a new home myself in June. So I was put back into my client's shoes. And I do that every couple of years just to remind myself of what they go
stress.
through. Yes, and the stress. But it allowed me to just take a step back, create boundaries and expectations for my clients. And what I found was that my clients ended up respecting me more for that.
Right.
And the ones that didn't, I was able to weed them out, and I didn't want to work with them anyway.
Right. And you want those people for your, long-term clients that are the ones that fit in what you want with your boundaries and everything. So that's really important. a little bit of a niche with your course, Real Estate Mastery 101. Can you share some key principles or strategies that have contributed to your success in the industry?
Yeah. So success in real estate is simple, but it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be selling real estate, right? So picking 2 to 3 lead generation strategies is that you're really passionate about. Like if you really love doing open houses, then do that. That should be your bread and butter of how you meet new buyer clients and build your business. If you really, really love posting on social media and using SEO to attract people to your page to get them to inquire about what the home value is, do that. But I think a lot of people need to realize that in real estate, when you go to get your license and you go to school and you pass your test and you get licensed, you don't go to a brokerage and they're not handing you a list of people ready to buy or sell. You're actually in the business of lead generating, not selling real estate. And that is, if you can grasp that early on, you will be successful. And I think a lot of people think it's just handed to them, and it really isn't. And once you lead generate and you have these people that are interested in buying and selling, you need to make sure that you follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. I tell everyone that all the time. And that is where most real estate agents fall short of their success, is they don't keep in touch and do the little things to keep themselves top of mind and their sphere, to remember that you are their real estate agent of choice. And when they think about buying or selling, they think about you.
I love that. I literally have no clue about real estate. So I am learning just between premature babies and real estate. I'm like, oh, okay. I love learning all different things. So I'm glad. So as you just mentioned, like it is about building relationships. It's very crucial. How do you go about connecting with your clients on a personal level? Like, are there any specific approaches that you use or practices that maybe you found that are really successful in keeping those relationships?
Yeah. So when I first got started in real estate, it was about 11 and a half years ago. And at the time I was living in Ohio. I was married previously and I was living there with my ex-husband, and for a job transfer that he had. And that's when I decided to get licensed. And I just remember thinking, I don't know anyone here. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. I don't have any connections here. And I know that my job is to lead generate. How am I going to find people that want to buy or sell and sell? So what I did was, I know that in order to have someone want to work with you, they need to know, like, and trust you and build that rapport with you. So when you find commonalities with your clients and you're able to connect with them on a personal level, they're going to build that know, like, and trust and build that rapport in order to move forward. So what I did was I was in a sorority in college, and I decided to find the local alumni chapter.
Oh, that's so smart.
And I'm like, you know what? Because I can get along with anyone, it was a little scary.
Yeah.
Women can be a little mean,
right,
and it's hard to make friends as an adult. So I'm lucky that we connected, because it's definitely hard.
Right.
And I go into the chapter, the Columbus alumni chapter, and I started networking with all of these women who we had the commonality. We were all in Alpha Phi in college. And that is actually how I got my first listing. And it was like, her name was Bonnie, and she was, I think at the time, late 60s.
Oh.
And she knew I was brand new. And she was like, I don't care. You're an Alpha Phi, and I want to support your business. And I know that you have my best interest at heart. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you'll find ways to find the answer and get it done for me. And that's how I got my first listing. And so after that, I decided to I went the open house route, and I did open houses every single weekend, multiple times. And even though I was brand new, I studied those neighborhoods that I hosted open houses in. So when people came into my open house, it was like they were coming into my store. I'm open for business. And I made sure I knew about all of the recent solds in the neighborhood. I wanted to know any active listings on the market. I wanted to know anything that went under contract. I wanted to know the average price per square foot in that neighborhood. So I could talk to these people coming into my open house and be knowledgeable of the market. Because when they look at you as an authority figure and an expert in your field, they're going to want to work with you.
Right.
And that's how I connected with people coming in and how I was able to grow my business from the ground up instantly when I got licensed.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm like, oh, I love this success story. I always love a good success story, and then seeing how hard work really does pay off. So, also in real estate, it's ever evolving with trends and technology shaping the way business is conducted. How do you stay ahead of the curve and adapt changes in the industry? Are there any specific tools or resources that you?
Yeah. So, I always tell everyone the best investment that you can make is in yourself. It will always pay the highest dividends. So I'm always looking, even being in the field for over 11 years and being in the 1% of real estate agents in this area, I am still always looking for the latest classes, seminars, workshops where they bring in industry experts that are economists or a mega agent that's doing 500 million in volume that comes to speak to crowds that, how we can grow and scale our business and, go from doing 30 million to 50 million or 50 to 100. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in that building phase. And so I'm always looking to do that. And I also continue to surround myself with others that are doing more than me. I actually just talked about this on my Instagram the other day. I always want to be doing the least amount in the room. I want everyone around me to be doing more because, as Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most of your time with. So if they're all millionaires, it's inevitable for me to not get to that level and rise up to meet them. Because they're not going to come down to meet me. I'm going to go the other way. And so I'm always looking to level up, put myself in rooms where I'm the least successful, and joining a great brokerage that has exceptional leadership, that is masterminding they're bringing the top agents together in the brokerage, and we do a mastermind every month. And I also hired a coach for the first time this year, which is not cheap. But I knew I needed to invest in myself. And that helped me. It was invaluable. And it helped me take my business to the next level. Systems that I use every day in my business, Canva.
I love Canva.
It's a universal platform for every type of industry. Yeah. But I use Canva every single day for sure. And then Trello. I don't know if you know Trello. It's almost like a workflow app where you can create boards and
I'll have to check that out.
It's really cool. So especially if you have a team, and it doesn't even matter the industry, if you're in the wedding planning business or you're a hairstylist or a photographer, and if you have a team of people that work for you, you create these boards and you can check off things as they get done, and you can see things in real time as they're getting done. And you can move them to phases like, this isn't totally done, but I'm working on this and I need XYZ from you, and you can tag people. It's really cool. I love that app. And then investing in a really good CRM. So a CRM, a consumer relationship management.
I'm like CRM, of course.
Right.
I know what that is.
And it's so funny because I'm glad you said that, because when I was first getting started, the industry jargon would really intimidate me because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to ask the question. Yeah. Because I don't know what that is. Because I don't want to feel stupid, but I also really want to know because I have no clue what they're talking about. So CRM, a consumer or customer relationship manager, and the one I use is called Follow Up Boss. It's a real estate based platform, and it's really wonderful. You're able to stay in touch with your clients and put tasks on there and all these amazing things.
Cool. That's such great advice, and so much of it I feel like can be transferred into anything that you're doing. The biggest thing that you said was, keep educating yourself. And there's so many people that just are like, well, I got my college degree, or well, I got my master's degree, and now I'm an expert at it, and that's all. If you're not learning something new and trying to better, even if it's reading a book or something, it's so important, and it's so undervalued that people just don't realize that you cannot be 40 and still be on the same level as your 22 or 23-year-old self with the same knowledge. It's just not going to get you anywhere. And then the surrounding yourself with the 5 people, I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, if you are the best person in your group, you're in the wrong group. you're in the wrong group. That is not, and that's something that I take as well. And I think also motherhood helped me to really kind of like, I hate say like weed out people, like friends, because I don't want to like it to sound like, oh, I like cut these friends out of my life, but surrounding myself with people who are better and or like-minded is so important for any part, real estate or just living your life kind of thing,
Absolutely.
So that's great advice. All right, so let's turn our attention to this new significant aspect of your career, the creation of your course, Real Estate Mastery 101. What inspired you to develop this course, and how do you believe it can empower individuals looking to thrive in real estate?
I have always had a passion for coaching and mentoring others, mainly because of where I came from and my beginnings. I spoke in the beginning. I grew up very poor, and from nothing. And I want to show others that if I can build this life that I have, and trust me, I am nowhere where I want to be, but I'm way, way farther along than where I was when I was growing up. So if I can do it, anyone can, because I'm no one special. I'm no one special, and anyone can rise out of being on welfare, impoverished, living in a trailer park, with, parents that, unfortunately, my parents had substance abuse problems, and now they're great and wonderful and they've overcome those. But it was tough growing up. And if I can be in that environment and rise up and do what I'm doing, anyone can. And that is almost what I feel like I was put on this earth for. And I just had this epiphany recently within the last couple of months. And it was really what was my pulling at my heartstrings. And I feel like this calling to do that. And I always knew that this is what I enjoyed. And that's why I created a real estate team in 2020. So in 2020, I was doing my own thing so I started selling in 2012. So for 8 years, I sold real estate. It was just me. And I grinded and hustled and did everything. I did everything from start to finish. And in 2020, I really wanted to grow and expand and bring on agents working under me so I could help them achieve their goals.
Right.
And I had so much business that I could leverage my time and still make money and help others too. So when I started my team, it was so fulfilling to see my team members create success, hit their goals I never thought were possible, and see how that increased income changes their life and their trajectory and where they were going. And I wanted to expand my reach more than just my immediate team members. Mm-hmm. So what I wish I had available to me when I got started in real estate was someone telling me or giving me or providing me with this exact blueprint with every facet of the business, outlining exactly what you needed to do in order to achieve success.
Right.
I wish someone handed that to me. So that's what I created.
I love it. That's awesome. And again, you can have the blueprint, but you got to put, the work into it. And that's something where, if someone like you had that blueprint, it would have just so much, things would have happened quicker for you.
Fast track my success. Yeah. I would have been where I'm at now probably in year 2. Wow. I'm not even kidding.
That's awesome.
So it's okay. Yeah. It took a little
while. Yeah, you're going to help so many people, and that's what it's all about. You're going to help so many people to get to in year 2.
Yes, exactly.
So how do you tailor your program to address all the unique challenges and opportunities that realtors face in today's dynamic market?
So one of the wonderful things about the fact that I am still actively selling real estate, I have no intention on not selling anytime soon. I'm able to have my pulse on the market because I still work with buyers and sellers and investors every single day. So I know what's going on with the interest rates, with the absorption rate, with inventory issues, with whatever the case may be. And I can, in real time, pass that along to the students and my clients taking this course. So the course actually is a digital product with modules that are self-paced. So you'll get the product, the coaching course, and have it for life. And you can take these modules at your own pace. Mm-hmm. So if you are a working mom, and you are looking to, you just got licensed, or you want to get licensed and you want to get a jump start on what to do once you get that real estate license in hand, you can take this at night when your babies are sleeping and do it at your own pace. It's not like you are on a coaching call weekly and you have to report back or what have you. It's nice. So it's self-paced. And then I incorporate live calls weekly for 3 weeks, and it's going to run anywhere between 3 and 4 months. So I'm still creating it. It's in the creation phase right now. It should be finished in February. Hopefully, there's a lot involved.
Yeah.
And then once it launches, then there'll be a hard start date, and then there'll be live coaching calls coupled with the modules. So I'm able to, during those live coaching calls, speak about what is going on with the climate of real estate, what the challenges are, and then give appropriate advice and what I do with my own clients on overcoming objections and course correct as the market dynamic changes.
That's amazing. And I love that it's like a mixture of both, where it's, someone might just, not be able to do everything all at once, but having the coaching calls to ask in the moment what they need is so important. And then you're going to be able to just continue that by helping. Oh my gosh. So creating the course, I mean, obviously you have such a deep understanding of the subject matter. What specific expertise and insights do you bring to it that sets it apart from any other course in the field?
I'm so glad you asked this question because if you are listening to this and you are in real estate, or you are in any type of coaching container in the industry that you work in, what I have found is that most coaches, especially in real estate, are single men and or men who aren't parents. And they're just extremely unrelatable to moms in this industry. And that's my avatar client, and my niche is I want to help moms. And it's nice that this podcast comes full circle because I'm not only a real estate agent, I'm a mom, and that is who my avatar is, my client avatar. And so I feel so passionate about helping them realize that they can do it all. You are a career woman and you're successful in what you do, and you can have a career and you can be super successful and you could be at the top of your industry, and you could also be a mom and be a wife and have wonderful friendships and achieve all the things that you wanted to achieve and allow your dreams to come true. And that is really what is the driving force behind creating this, because there is a very small supply of female realtors that aren't like 80. Because I think about Barbara Corcoran, right? She's like 80. And I love her. She's great. She's made huge waves in Manhattan real estate, but she's a little bit out of touch with like the 30, 40 something or even 20 something year old woman nowadays that is a working mom. And
what that like entails is so different, I feel like, than it was even 20 years ago as a mom. So
exactly. Exactly. And so all of this with my 11 years of experience, I've sold, I like lost track, but if I had to guess, over 500 homes at this point in the course of my career, in all different price points, all different markets. When I started, it was a buyer's market and it was a horrible time to sell real estate. You were taking a huge loss if you sold. You were just giving your home away to anyone that would buy it. Now it's the opposite. It's a crazy seller's market, but it comes with its own set of unique challenges. So I have proven that you can be successful making six figures in any type of market, in any type of price point. And I have a tried and true understanding of what it takes to be successful in real estate. So I take all of my real life experience, couple it with my coaching call, my coach that I hired this year. I've taken multiple Tony Robbins courses. I took his Unleash the Power Within, Business Mastery, and then all the other random courses that I've taken. And I'm able to bundle them all together, mix them all up, and then apply it and deliver it to everyone that takes the course. And
I love it. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so awesome. I wish I was a real estate agent because I don't think it'll help me as a health and phys ed teacher, but
no.
So for those considering enrolling in Real Estate Mastery 101, what success stories or transformations have you witnessed from maybe your team members? Like, how do you measure the impact of your course on their professional journey?
Every one of my team members so I didn't have the course obviously yet, but
it was the course.
It was the course.
It was the course, just not like written down,
put into a coaching container. So every single one of the girls that I have had one gentleman on my team, and he actually applied these as well, and he's still successful to this day. So all of the women that have applied and taken have achieved amazing success and results. And I have this one agent who I just have to talk about. Her name is Bella. I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I'm talking about her success because it's really incredible. She immigrated here 5 years ago from Brazil, barely spoke English, came here as an au pair, no friends, like 2 family members that she knew. Actually, no, she had no family members at the time. She met her husband here, who's American. And that was her only connection. Had never owned real estate. No one in her family had ever owned real estate, had no idea what she was doing. And she got licensed, and she had, I think her baby was 7 months old at the time. And she knew she wanted to create a better life for her and her family and set an example for her son. She took exactly what I told her to do, and she ran with it, and in her first year sold over $4.5 million in real estate.
Whoa.
And if you want to do the math with what she made, you make about 2.5% to 3% commission on that number. So if you just do the math, and that's what she made in her first year of selling real estate. And I'm telling you, success is simple. It's not easy. So you have to be willing to put the work in. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people in this day and age, they want quick, instant gratification, instant results. And my first 6 months in real estate, I did not sell one house. It took me 6 months of every single day showing up and being consistent. And then finally, I got my big break when I got that listing from the woman in my sorority group.
And I am now learned like 35, 36, I'm 37 now. Really in the last year, that is something that even though with teaching, it's like you do have to show up every day, but to be kind of branch off to what I'm doing with the life coaching and the content creating and stuff like that. It's like, even with the podcast, people are so much like, yeah, well, I did 5 episodes and I'm not making millions of dollars yet. Why not? And it's the consistency of it. You can't get somewhere unless you start somewhere. And that's just something that like, if you want it, you got to keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's exactly what you're saying. So I'm like getting so motivated by it.
Good. I'm so glad. And I hope you guys all listening are getting motivated too.
So as an experienced real estate professional, you've likely encountered various challenges and triumphs. How do these real world experiences shape the content and approach of Real Estate Mastery 101, making it practical and valuable resource for aspiring realtors?
So one of the benefits, which I just spoke about briefly, of this course are the live coaching calls that I'm going to offer weekly. And as things come up over the duration of the course, I am able to mentor each client like they were a team member of mine, because my team members have instant access to me, and they could text me, call me, see me in the office. We meet weekly for team meetings. And so they have direct access. So the people that buy the course, you could be living in Wyoming or Michigan or Texas, and you can have that access too. And if you're local listening to this and you're thinking about getting into real estate, or you're a realtor and you want more information, please contact me, because I would love to chat with you. But that's one of the great things, is I'm able to mentor each client, provide advice on how to handle situations as they arise in each transaction or hurdles that might come up, and let them know what I would do, how I would approach the situation. And after the course is completed, which it's going to probably be a 3-month container, after it finishes, I'm going to follow that up with a mastermind. After it's over, for clients to then transition out of the course into the mastermind. And then it can be a part of their of the continued success and support well after the course is completed. And you'll be able to continue to implement everything. And then I'll be there, and the mastermind will be separate, and it'll be a monthly subscription-based thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. What great things. Well, I think we talked about everything. And before you came over, I was laughing about, we were at the white party this summer, and the guy came up and was like, can you say a few things about the neck? And we were like, you picked the wrong people. And we like went on for like a minute.
He literally looked at us like, I only needed it to be 7 seconds. You guys spoke for like a minute and 5 seconds. I'm like, oh my God.
Like, long one. But as we conclude this episode, obviously, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you sharing everything so much, learning from having a premature baby to your real estate course, just so much knowledge for everyone. So I hope everyone learned as much as I did, because I'm feeling motivated. And your journey from navigating the uncertainties of premature childbirth to conquering the challenges of the real estate world is nothing short of inspiring. And if you're as captivated by Becky's story as I am, make sure to check out her Real Estate Mastery 101. I will post about that once it's available, and you do have the wait list now, so that's something that's so awesome. I will post all of that and link it in the notes. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it. You can also follow me on Instagram at @therunningwinemom_. And do you want to share your socials?
Yeah, and you can follow me at my name is long and Polish, and unfortunately, I'm going to probably change the handle once I get married. But if you guys are following us in January of 2024, my handle is just my name, Becky Rynkiewicz, BeckyRynkiewicz, or my other account, which is Sweet Home Investor.
And that's for all things real estate. So I will link all of those as well. So thank you so much for joining. Remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you are all amazing. Until next time, keep running, keep sipping, and keep embracing the joy of motherhood. Cheers, and I will be back next Tuesday. Thank you. Yeah. We did it.